Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to Cross Gaming News, where basically I talk about anything involving video games and try to collage all the news into one video. So the first thing I want to talk about is the improvement slash better decision making that Nintendo has actually been making lately. First off, the Nintendo Switch third-party support system that they have been trying to get a lot of people on and everything like that, so far it's hitting the rails right on. I mean, early on so far, and this being its first year and everything like that, we've already got a good lineup of games. But the oddest one, considering this is Nintendo, Nintendo is sort of like Disney in a way, where it wants to try to be in that kid-friendly, family-friendly type system. But when it comes to third-party support, there's not much out there for Nintendo to try to reach out for and stuff. And thus, Nintendo needs to kind of have that change in progression to where it needs to just kind of say to itself, okay, we either need to make this business decision, or otherwise we're going to lose everything that we've already set up for. So they literally have to let go of everything that they had originally built and basically just say, let's just take whatever we can get. They've already had Binding of Isaac, which is very good, actually. Considering how many systems it's available for. It's already, I think they said it's available for the 3DS. And so recently it was also put onto the Nintendo Switch, which is really good. Now, what's really weird is that we've had recently announced the Skyrim on the Nintendo Switch, which that's going to be a little bit interesting, considering how big the game is, and then how it can be easily put into the handheld of the Nintendo Switch itself. So it's going to be interesting to see how well it does. I'll say that much. It's going to be interesting to see how it does in terms of like being able to be put onto it. But in recent news, however, there have been a reveal that both Doom and the new Wolfenstein game is going to be available for the Nintendo Switch as well. So this is interesting, and at the same time it's good news to hear. That means that Nintendo has basically let go of their policy and basically are trying to get in new developers to say, yeah, we are a third-party acceptance. Please put any game you want as a third-party support, and we will support your game. Nintendo has finally realized that in order for it to do business and for it to do well, you have to have a good lineup of games. And the Nintendo Switch is a good system. Despite what some people might say, it is actually a really good system. The fact that it's both a console and a handheld. So, I mean, not many people have actually done this. The only time someone has done this, but it's mostly for like two separate systems. In Nintendo's case, however, they actually did it into a 2-in-1 system. And considering how far it has gotten, it's gotten a lot of attention so far. But Nintendo has done really well when it comes to the third-party support. But I think it can do a little bit better, but it's not Nintendo's fault as of right now. It's other companies that are kind of still on the resisting end of things. They still think that they don't need to put their games onto the Nintendo Switch, but if they were given the option of where it's like, hey, if you were to put it on the Nintendo Switch, would you do it? If enough people asked them, I guarantee you the answer would be, yes, we would try to put it on the Nintendo Switch. Even Nomura stated for Kingdom Hearts 3 that while there is no future plans for it to be put on the Nintendo Switch as of right now, I say that by the time it does get released, a year from now, it will be available for the Nintendo Switch, especially since people have actually been asking about that. It's like, hey, Nomura, will you put Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Nintendo Switch? The answer was, right now we want to concentrate on its original release for both Xbox One and PS4, but that doesn't mean that the ideal isn't there. In other words, I say that if popularity rises, they would be more tempted to actually put it onto the Nintendo Switch. So the third-party support is growing strong. It's just, as of right now, the only major developer that's being put onto it is Bethesda, which is actually a good thing, considering how Bethesda works when it comes to some of their games. And hopefully, I'm hoping that this will encourage other companies to go onto the Nintendo Switch as well. That said, however, another news that came up that has been very shocking for me is the mini editions. First off, we have the SNES edition. About 2 weeks ago, it got released in stores. But what's funny is that news before its initial release came out, and basically the news as follows was that the SNES Mini is going to have a longer continuation on past the holidays. Basically meaning that its continued production date is going to continue on even after the new year starts up. So it's going to have a longer production time, and there's going to be plenty of SNES Minis going around for people to actually purchase for themselves. In fact, for someone who technically works at a store myself, from what we had the NES Classic Edition, the SNES Classic Edition had 26, whereas the NES, I think we had like maybe 6 at the time. We only had 6. This time, however, we had a total of 26, and therefore we were able to sell them. The funny thing was, we had 5 left over, but that doesn't mean the next day they were still there. They were gone. Next day, as soon as anyone found out that they were still on the store shelf, they basically disappeared the next day. So, but the good news is that they're still making them, they're still producing them, and they're going to release them later on throughout the season, and hopefully within the next following year. So, don't worry if for some reason you don't see it on shelf. Do not panic. Don't go buy them on Craigslist. Don't buy them on eBay or anybody else. Buy them at your local store because they will have it in stock. Guarantee. And based on what the company says, do not buy them for more than the $79.99 price range that is originally retailed. Buy them in the local stores and you'll guarantee it. And I know that's a little bit of a long wait for some of you, but be patient and you will get yours. Speaking of, however, the NES Classic Edition is going to be making a grand return, and this time a much bigger run as well. According to the reports, they're saying that it should be released in the summer of 2018. So this is another good news. It means that both the SNES and the NES Classic Editions are going to have a continued production limit, a much larger one for that matter. So in other words, it's not a limit of 2 million or 3 million. No, we can easily say that they're probably going to make tens of millions of these things now, which means we're going to have a vast variety of them, and we don't have to worry about paying overpriced scalp prices. So that's good news to hear. And personally, I think Nintendo has finally realized that this does not hurt them to make mass production of this stuff. It does not hurt their sales. If nothing else, it improves their sales. And personally for me, this also tells me that retro isn't dead. You know, one of the biggest topics that I hear is that I don't understand why people collect retro games. There's no real reason. Why don't people just jump onto the 4K resolution? And it's not that we don't want to, it's just we enjoy playing the older games that was released in the past. I myself, who collect retro games, mostly for PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, however, there's a lot of games that I've never had a chance to play. So to have the ability to be able to replay these older titles is always a welcome addition. I'm always happy to hear whenever a new retro game is released for PlayStation 4. I'm sure for a lot of people they're excited for the next backwards compatibility game that's going to be put for Xbox One. And for a lot of Nintendo fans, they're wondering what the next Mini is going to be. And for right now, there's still a large rumor, again, has not been confirmed by official yet, but there's a rumor saying that there could be a chance for an N64 Mini. Now, I would talk about that, but right now, that one deserves its own video, so stay tight for that one. But, in terms of other news, I also have something else that I want to go ahead and talk about, being that of Kingdom Hearts merchandising. In terms of like what we've had so far this year has been dramatically an effective and very happily merchandising campaign. May not be as like play arts form, but in terms of everything else, it's really good. Although I will say, in terms of like the weirdest product, underpants Kingdom Hearts merchandise, I'm like, okay. I mean, I should have suspected that, but at the same time, okay. But however, though, the first merchandise being that of the Kingdom Hearts keychains, known as, I think they're pronounced Fringles? Fingles? I think they're Fingles, but they're basically the 3D foam character models of the Kingdom Hearts series. So basically, we've had 2 series so far that's been released. We've had the first series, which contains Sora, Donald, Goofy, Pete, Riku, Kairi, King Mickey, as well as Roxas and Axel, and the Shadow Heartless and the Kingdom Key. In Series 2, however, it has Sora final form and his anti-form, along with the Oathkeeper Oblivion, has Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, with Maleficent, Yang Sid, and organization members Sexion, Vexen, Luxu, Larcene, and I think that's it so far for Volume 2. I may have forgotten 1 or 2 characters, I'm not sure. But we're fixing to get a Series 3 of it now. So to hear that we're going to get a Series 3, this is actually pretty good to hear. But looking at the Series 3 characters, I'm like, I kind of wish they had a little bit more variety. But at the same time, I guess considering what they're trying to do, they're trying to release all different forms of characters to see how more likely people are to buy this stuff before they release more characters. And I'm hoping eventually we'll get all of the organization members as this stuff and everything, so that would be pretty cool to have. But in Series 3, which I've got an image right here for you, we have, in terms of characters, we have Xion, Naminé, we have Roxas in his organization outfit, we have Axel, but he has his weapon, his chakrams, they have him in that. They've also got Sora, Donald, and Goofy in their Halloween town outfits. They also have Aqua and Terra along with their Keyblades. So, on the one hand, don't care much for the Sora, Donald, and Goofy Halloween versions. I feel like they're kind of repeating them, much like with the pop figures and stuff. But on the other hand, to have Xion, Naminé, as well as the organization version of Roxas, and then of course to have Terra and Aqua, that's good news to hear. That means potentially there could be a chance that we could have all of the characters in these little keychains. I'm hoping that's the case, and they seem to be producing them a lot quicker than expected. But speaking of pop figures, for that matter, we finally have a reveal of the pop figures that was rumored of pre-orders for Sora, Riku, Kairi, and a Heartless pop figures. Now, recently I found out about this little detail from GameStop, and several other news reviewers basically have talked about how people have pre-ordered pop figures from GameStop, and basically these pre-orders have stated to be pop figures of Sora, Riku, Kairi, and Heartless. So, the biggest question was, when were they available, and what did they look like? Because, honestly, with me, I was a little bit afraid of how the pop figures for these characters was going to look. Record, Donald, Goofy, and Mickey look really good in their pop figure forms. But I was kind of curious as to how the pop figures for these characters was going to look. Well, I'm happy to say, after looking around for quite some time, Amazon actually has the listing available on their website and with images. So I'm going to show you the images right here, right now, of the individual characters. So we have Sora, Riku, as well as Kairi in their Kingdom Hearts 2 outfits. And we also have the Shadow Heartless available as a pop figure. So that's good to see that we actually have image of these things and that their official release date, which is December... I may have got this backwards, but I believe it's December 20th that is available. There are other pop figures that are going to be out available, but they come out December 15th. But I think this one's December 20th. I'll try to put like a little thing saying if it is the 15th, but I think it's the 20th that it said, if I'm not mistaken. So, seeing the pop figures for the main characters themselves is good news to hear. That means there's a good chance that we could have either Roxas probably available. We could see any members of the organization probably. We might even see Final Fantasy characters. I know it seems hard to believe, and that's quite a stretch to go for. But honestly, considering this is the 30th anniversary, I don't see Square Enix passing down the option of putting Final Fantasy characters into pop figure form. May not have all of the characters of the Final Fantasy franchise, but in terms of like the new Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, they could easily do that. You know? At least they're not having to produce like the mass bring Ars Kai or play Ars Kai of individual Dissidia Final Fantasy characters, but instead in pop figure form. And if for some reason they end up putting them in pop figure form, I will buy every last one of them. I will, because let me tell you, so far, while in terms of pop figures I'm not a big fan of, but if it's like a particular character that I have a favorite of, or like a TV series or something like that, I will more than likely get it. For example, they've had revealed the Angry Beavers, Norbert and Daggett. I'm more than likely going to be getting both of them, along with Rocco with Spunky. So that's making me happy. So it's like, okay, so needless to say, it's starting to get like characters that I would more than likely want to get because of my favorite series and stuff like that. So that's cool. That's cool. Especially if you have like a particular favorite and they haven't made that figure, be patient. They're more than likely going to get there. Although to hear Delmar saying the phrase that if they make a Thomas figure of a pop figure, he would buy that in an instant. I'm like, as much as that would be interesting, at the same time it'd be kind of weird. But then again, considering all of the different pop figures, and if you actually looked into it, they've pretty much scratched the bottom of the barrel to a point to where they're right now past the wood, down into the tile, and they're fixing to pick up dirt. Not to say that's a bad thing. No. Don't say that, okay? Don't think I'm saying that's a bad thing. It's a good thing that they're still digging up more and more different characters and stuff. It just seems odd that they just keep pulling out more and more. And the moment you think that they haven't got a pop figure of it, you find out they do. For example, Hong Kong Fooey is a pop figure. If you don't know what Hong Kong Fooey is, I don't blame you. Just look it up on the internet. It used to be available on a network called Boomerang a long time ago. I'm not even sure if Boomerang is still the way it is now or if it's changed. But either way, I just felt like I wanted to talk about all this massive news stuff and everything like that. And while there's still plenty of other news that I wanted to talk about, I've been kind of like behind on it and everything like that, mostly because I've had a number of things happen. But that will be up and later in a different video at a different time. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Take care, guys.